upgrades.
Ladies and gentlemen, we are back for yet again another movie review. This time around, it's another Marvel film. We're talking about The Marvels. This was directed by Nia DaCosta. This is a sequel follow-up to Brie Larson's Cara Danvers story. The last time we saw her was in Endgame, and technically some other movies after that. But this is also going to be bringing along newcomers in Iman Vellani, playing the role of Miss Marvel from her Disney Plus show, as well as I'm going to get her name wrong. I apologize. Teyonah, I believe that's correct. Parris.
Teyonah Parris.
For Monica Rambeau, which we saw her last in WandaVision. We have a full stack today, and I'm going to bring them out, and we're going to be talking about a non-spoiler review for The Marvels. What's going on, gentlemen?
What is going on?
How you get the black woman's name wrong?
Yeah, Teyonah.
No, I didn't get it wrong. I said I was
like that's like another Issa.
Exactly.
I worried I was going to get it wrong.
He just said Essa Ray. He said, you know that girl, Essa Ray?
It's Teyonah. Hashtag Black Girl Magic.
You won't say that again. Nope. Let's get into this review, please.
All right. So just off for a break, I'm going to be very frank. The first Miss Marvel's movie, I think Captain Marvel made like $1 billion, I believe.
$1.2 billion.
Yeah, but as far as from the different Marvel category, I did not like Captain Marvel in any way, shape, or form. I don't want to say I hated it, but I've only seen it twice, since it's even been in the theater. So it was never a point for me that I wanted to go back and watch it. So I'm curious y'all perspective, really quick. Were you guys excited about this one, or you guys are like, I don't know where this is going to go, but I'm kind of concerned? Where were you at on that spectrum, real quick, across the board?
Yeah, I was, again, same with you. I only saw the movie twice. The first one. The first one was when I saw it when it came out in theaters, and then the second time was yesterday, preparing me for this film, and I still could. It was difficult to get through it. With this movie, the only thing I was excited to see again is just characters who I've already got introduced in Phase 4 with Teyonah Parris, Monica Rambeau, and Iman Vellani. Those two characters from Miss Marvel. Those two characters I was excited to see. So that was the driving force for me seeing this movie when it was announced.
Yeah. Lucas, Jorge, where were you guys at going into this film?
Is that on me, or I'll go first? So hey,
I was going to say you go first.
One, no, I was not excited at all to see this movie because I'm not excited at all to learn anything about these two other characters in this movie. As it pertains to the first Captain Marvel movie, I saw it once, but I see every Marvel movie once, so I don't watch them twice. There's no need for that. But I also said after the first watch of Captain Marvel, the movie wasn't good, but the character was interesting. So when I say that, that means I want to see more of Captain Marvel. The moment you introduced this as The Marvels, you completely lost me because I said, oh, this is BVS all over again.
Okay.
I was indifferent. I had very low expectations, very, very low, and it met my expectations.
Did you enjoy the first one?
I think I only watched it once or twice as well. I mean it was forgettable.
Yeah. I think,
and also it was around the time that the Avengers movies came out. Like it's literally this movie then Endgame, I want to say.
Yes, it is.
Literally jump So you didn't really have like a big gap of time to do anything before you completely forgot that the movie came out when they released the biggest movie for them right after it.
Yeah.
Yeah. The other part about this movie, before we even kind of go into the review, is that if you haven't seen Miss Marvel, or if you haven't seen WandaVision, I mean,
Yes.
technically Monica is only in as a little kid in the first Captain Marvel movie, but she's like how she gets her powers and everything. You have to have watched WandaVision. You had to have watched Miss Marvel to know about the specific character Kamala Khan. So I think that is a huge disadvantage going into this movie, and the movie doesn't necessarily tell you all that. You just are expected
Nope.
to know what's really going on, and you're dropped in, which a lot of Marvel movies have this tendency of doing that, unfortunately. But let's go ahead and get down to nitty gritty with this one. So where are we at, like across the board? Let's go ahead and give our brief synopsis of what we think about this film, and then we'll go into positive, negatives, and then conclusion. So I'll go first with Jorge. Jorge, brief summary on your perspective on this movie.
I think this movie met my expectations. It wasn't it's I think for me it's frustrating because this didn't feel like a Marvel movie. It felt like a show. This to me was like the season finale of Miss Marvel instead of a whole encapsulating movie of, you know, 3 very powerful chicks.
Yeah. Mike, where you at with this? You look surprised.
No. I'm just saying because I actually agree with you. I said it in our first initial reaction. I really enjoyed Miss Marvel season 2. I really enjoyed it. I thought it was good, and you know the biggest thing we've been having issue with Disney Plus shows that haven't been long enough. I think this 1 hour and 45-minute episode of Miss Marvel season 2 definitely I think delivered in terms of her character.
That's hilarious. Lucas, what's your brief synopsis on this one before we get into the positive and negative?
This is the laziest movie Marvel's ever made.
Yeah.
Look, I'm not here to debate any of this at all. My thing with this movie is that the movie isn't a Captain Marvel movie. Like it honestly, because I loved Miss Marvel, like I loved things about Kamala Khan.
Yeah.
Because I like the dynamic of Monica Rambeau with, you know, Carol Danvers that elevated certain things about it. The two side characters, the two other Marvels are the better thing about the movie, not the main character. But it's not to say that Brie Larson is a bad actress. That's not the case. It's just the way they wrote this movie. They covered everything else around her. So if you were going for this movie to see a Captain Marvel movie, that's not what this movie is. If you like those other two shows in any way, shape, or form, I think you're going to find elevation in where this is going to go. The other thing about this, and this may be a positive or negative, like this is a lot of humor here or there with this one. I mean, it's not atypical from a Marvel movie perspective, but there are certain things in this one that either going to not land or you're going to be like, okay, that was actually pretty funny. But I can't spoil one of them. One thing happens in the middle of this movie, and I was just like, so I'm curious to see if that's going to be a positive, negative for some of you guys. But let's go ahead and get right into it, though, so we don't waste time. Positives. What were some of the positives about this film that we can kind of pick apart? Mike, you put your hand up. What's going on?
Yeah, I thought the action scenes definitely were well choreographed. Especially like in the first act of this movie, when we're getting like close encounters. Like you see this in the trailer, like when we've seen these powers being entangled and what they do in terms of the combat they're doing when they're being switched and stuff like that. I thought that was unique. But again, regardless of that, still I thought the action choreography was really good. And I enjoyed it. And for the scenes that they were having it, I just wish they would have more of that and really have these great choreographed fight scenes backed up with a great emotional story to be like, oh man, this scene of them fighting is so intense. But like, no, I'm just seeing, okay, it's like a dance. It's like, look, nice formation. Good, you guys practice this very well, and when you're making this movie. But in terms of good fight scenes that have story to back it up, But this was a good. No, this was a good. I thought for the most part, some of the fight scenes were really good. The comedy, there, this movie is more entertaining than the first one, in my opinion. Like I will rewatch parts of this movie again for certain characters. Again, going to particularly with Mon Vellani and Teyonah Parris. Yeah, that I will go watch the family scenes. Really are going tied to Miss Marvel again. If you like the moments in Miss Marvel on Disney Plus, you're gonna enjoy parts in this movie with the family and Mon Vellani herself, just in terms of her personality in this film. So yeah, those are really highlights for me.
Okay, thanks, Mike. All right, Lucas, has some positives for this film.
The cats. That's
The
it.
cats.
Nothing else. Nothing else is positive in this movie. The cats are. That's it. Like it's nothing else positive in this movie.
There are an abundance of cats, you guys. So if you are a cat person, this may be the movie for you for the Marvel win. But nah. Okay. Thanks, Lucas. All right. Jorge. Some positive.
I would think the length of the movie was a positive because it was short. Um, I think it tried to bring elements of what people enjoyed from, like Miss Marvel, the show, but I think they just went around it the wrong way. They took kind of like this kind of like fun, interesting, like girl version of like Peter Parker joining, like the Avengers, but it just didn't work. But I mean, if you really liked Miss Marvel, I think you'll find some great like little tidbits of it with the family and all that. But yeah, for me, I think the best part, other than the cats, I have to agree with Lucas, would be the time of the movie because it was short and it still felt long, but it was short.
That's hilarious. I am glad. How do I say this nicely? I think that this movie, we ain't going to negatives. The things that I liked about it was Kamala Khan. I did like the Miss Marvel aspect of it, like the dynamics with the family, them kind of like dealing with their child in the mix of like a big world situation as opposed to a local one. I think was really interesting. Again, I did like the different back and forth of what Monica was trying to deal with her relationship with Carol. It just wasn't established as well as it could have been. And I think that because the story is disjointed, it just falls flat with that. But I think that they both of them are highlights with it. And I agree with Mike. I think that there was some really good fights early in the beginning of this movie. I think the beginning and the half has some really good camera work in terms of like good sequencing going back and forth. I think that if they had kept with that, that would have been a really interesting thing. When they get to the back half of it, it's more big CGI blow up stuff. But I mean, they did do some really interesting things with the characters as a whole. And I think that they help elevate the movie more than anything, like Monica and Kamala. But if the thing that is hard for me to say is that I laughed at a lot of this in this movie, but I don't know if I was supposed to. Some of the stuff I think was intentional. And the stuff that was intentional, it made the movie very entertaining for me. I felt like this was one that I would go back and watch again than to watch the first one. At the very least, I had a very entertaining time watching this movie. But we're gonna go straight into the negatives. I'll go with Jorge. Jorge, what were some of the negatives you had in this movie, man?
Oof. All right. I think the most glaring negative is the CGI. The CGI in this movie took me out of it so much.
Every Marvel movie. Sorry.
No, I think for the amount of money that they had on it, like some of the CGI that just passed, I'll just go with that. You find better stuff on like the CW, and that's no knock on the CW, but it's like on like old CW. I thought that took me out, from a couple things. There were some parts of this movie that this movie wasn't a long one, but you could like I was looking at scenes and I'm like, you could remove that from the movie and it would still be the same. Like you could probably make this movie a solid hour and it would be more than enough. you know, I think it kind of like it just stretches way more than it needs to. Like there's really nothing that got me excited. I think like halfway through the movie, I kind of I think I looked at Lucas and I'm like, I think I like aged out of Marvel. Like that's the easiest way I can put it. Like it just wasn't entertaining at all for me. It didn't give me what I wanted. And even with with like Miss Marvel and her family, like a lot of that felt forced. Like it didn't need to be that pushed into our face. I think that was the one nice thing about the actual Disney show, that they kind of sprinkled that family dynamic. And here in the movie, it was like just shoved down your throat, I felt. Which, like there was maybe one or two scenes where I was like, cool, that I'm happy they're in it, but it just kind of like kept on dragging and dragging. But yeah, that, and not knowing the big bad guy's name until like, I still don't remember the name. So that should tell you something. Like, yeah, it was very disappointing. I'll leave it at that.
Nah, it's all good. All right, Mike, you got your hand up.
Yeah. Shout out to Tom Hiddleston's wife, who's the villain of this movie. That's what I'm gonna call her, Loki's wife. Um, this is probably one of the worst uh, Marvel villains, and just when you think they couldn't get low, they go lower. With what just uh, yeah, here's a bracelet, here's a hammer, just go and be evil. Then okay. Um, and yeah, that was a big negative. But really, the biggest thing is that this movie is very disjointed. And what I mean by that is that again, that there are parts of this again that you could remove out. Like, why do we actually need this scene? There's some scenes, there's not none spoiled, whatever. It's like, what movie am I watching? Is it a Marvel movie now, or is it Disney Channel? And you're watching this, and I'm like, I just like, who made this decision? And for this being the first Marvel movie directed by a black woman, I take more of a personal offense to this, because there's like, I feel like my issues with this has nothing to do with her, and I honestly believe it had nothing to do with her. I think it's studio the interference, like, hey, we got to put this scene here, or hey, we got to clip this up now and add this in. Um, Again, to Jorge's point, and before I pass the mic over, he's saying that I'm aged out. I feel like he aged out of Marvel. No. Again, as someone who's the youngest person on this panel, you didn't age out. In fact, you no longer took Marvel's BS anymore, and that no longer can you just have a post-credit scene just give you 22 seconds of dangling keys. Here's this. Stay tuned the next week in the next Marvel installment. No, and that's unacceptable. So. Yeah, and the same issues we have in previous Marvel movies is happening again now, and it's being more present now more than ever. I pass the mic.
Yeah, I'm gonna take the mic real quick, and I'm gonna let Lucas lead off because I think he's gonna have the strongest lead off. I mean, to me, the fact that this had a $275 million budget is kind of crazy. As much as I like some of the camera angles in the very beginning, I think some of the wide open shots were cool. I mean, they just waste money with a lot of this. I mean, Thor: Love and Thunder, I think, was like $250 million budget, and that was a hot mess. A lot of these Marvel movies have been consistently like this, unfortunately. One of the biggest things that was a negative for me is, I said at the very beginning, that this, you had to have seen WandaVision or Miss Marvel to know anything about any of this. Matter of fact, you technically, even Ronan the Accuser, like, if you don't know who the heck this is and this lady comes up, you won't know nothing. Like, this character as a villain, I wanted to feel something for her, but I didn't even care. Matter of fact, even her intro was just off. It felt like she had a whole intro and you just cut it. They were like, just go straight to her. And it was so bad. I don't even remember her name. I feel bad for the actress. And it just does not service the film as a whole, because her whole thread of us trying to figure out whether or not we care about why she's doing what she's doing, what makes a good villain is you actually care why they're so devoted to what they're doing. And it just makes the movie stupid, unfortunately, because that makes the whole storyline disjointed as a whole. And then you sprinkle in Kamala, you sprinkle in, the relationship stuff that's going on with Monica and Carol. And unfortunately, that's a segue into another negative, is the fact that this is Captain Marvel's movie, and it doesn't feel like that. Like she is nerfed. I'm not gonna say how they nerfed her, but for a person that took down Thanos, you cannot comprehend why she's in just single base fights. It just doesn't add up, right? And the other thing about, even though I found as a positive, the other two characters are more interesting and more engaging and make the movie better. It, to me personally, if Kamala was out of this movie, I don't know if I would even care to look at it again. And if it was the other side of that, if Monica was out of this would have no emotional appeal whatsoever if Monica was taken out of this film. And I personally don't like the cats. I mean, I'm not necessarily a cat person, but they doubled down on cats. And I didn't like the cat taking Nick Fury's eye out to start with. But here we are, you know what I'm saying? So those are my big negatives. I could go and keep nitpicking down, but I'm really curious to go with Lucas's lead off, and then we'll give final thoughts.
So, one, I'll go with Jorge. I think it was Jorge said that the movie, or maybe Mike, that the movie's just disjointed. It feels like it's going at a pace that is ridiculous. From the beginning of the film, you are lost for the first 30 to 40 minutes trying to figure out what's going on. That's a huge flaw with this film. Kamala Khan is the second huge flaw with this film. That is not a likable character. And because she's not a likable character and you put her so much in the forefront, like you didn't learn your lesson the first time when no one watched her show, that they didn't think she was a likable character, you push her and then this forced family relationship in the forefront, it slowed down this movie at times that made it, as Jorge said, while the length was short, it made the film feel so long, especially because we've seen this family dynamic earlier in this year in a different superhero film done better and not feel forced like it felt here. Like they just had to put the family in it for some odd reason. And then to sideline Brie Larson again. I gotta question Marvel here. Brie Larson is the best actor in the MCU. How are you not pushing this character better? And you keep on either you're making her appear way too strong or you're making her appear way too weak. And this film does a great job of making me wonder, could Captain Marvel even fight Groot by herself and win a fight? And that's sad because that's automatically telling me that you listen to the negative comments that you got from the first film, which they felt, or certain men who don't deserve to be around women felt that Captain Marvel was too strong of a character. So then you decided to pull back her power set, but then you made her so weak. That is a huge flaw in this movie, along with a villain that no one knows who this person is. This is the dumbest villain Marvel's ever had in a film. Even when they get to a point of explaining the purpose of this villain, you are still confused why this person is in this movie. It made absolutely no sense. And just the tone, and I'll end it right there. The tone overall of this film. Carol Danvers now is the nicest person in the world, and she gets very emotional and cries over everything. Nick Fury now makes jokes, kiddish jokes, as much as humanly possible, include one about black girl magic in this film. And then you have the Kamala Khan's and her family with their awful jokes and things of that nature. The tone is just so off in this movie, it will take you out of it because it seems like they didn't know what movie that needed to be made here. It would have been so much better to make either a straightforward Captain Marvel movie or remove Captain Marvel altogether and just as Mike said, make Miss Marvel season 2 or a Miss Marvel special and drop it in theaters if you were going to do this movie.
Well, all right, so that concludes that. So let's go straight up final thoughts and grading. We're going to do grade A to F, starting with Lucas. Final words or thoughts in grade A to F.
I call this a lazy movie because of the way that they put it together. It feels rushed, but at the same time, it feels slow. It felt like they didn't know exactly what type of movie they wanted to do, and they just in the end said, we need to do a movie with Captain Marvel again. Let's put this out. Let's throw a bunch of characters in here. We're not going to learn our lessons from prior movies or prior television shows not succeeding, and we're still going to give you all of these characters. So it's just a lazy movie that has too good of an actress in Brie Larson in it. There's no way she deserves the disrespect that she's gotten from Marvel playing this character, and this movie continues that disrespect. This movie is an F. It's the worst superhero genre film of this year. Nothing in this movie works at all. And I'm hoping once this fails, that maybe they'll learn their lesson and maybe they'll do something worthwhile of the talent that is Brie Larson and give her something with this Captain Marvel character.
Thank you, Lucas. Mike, final thoughts and grading.
I'll say that I give this a D, because D for dissatisfied, dissatisfaction. Again, it's feel I think same feel disjointed, and again the word lazy, because they do things again. They think that because you like superheroes and stuff, they're just gonna throw something. And not to get anything spoilers, but when they do these certain moments, they expect theater people to respond like, "Oh my God, they're doing this!" But then now it's getting to the point when they do this, like, okay, now you're doing this, and now it's coming as a point of desperation now. And to a point that is not paying off the way you expect it to, because now it's like, okay, you're starting to connect things together, but then the fact that it took all of this of laziness and again just pacing issues, not just with this film, but with other Disney Plus shows and other stuff like that, to a point that when you start connecting things, they're like, okay, now all right, now I guess it's making sense, but now it's like I don't care anymore. That's the fear that Marvel's gonna have to combat when they reassemble after this writer strike or actor strike and everything. That they're gonna have to have a come to Jesus moment, realize, hey, listen, the direction that we were been going is not right, and we're now going down, throwing money down the drain, spending exceedingly amount of money that we don't need to, and to a point now we have to redirect the direction of this Marvel Cinematic Universe because it's not what it used to be today.
All right. So grade was a D, Mike?
A D for dissatisfaction.
All right. Jorge, final thoughts and grading.
This movie just met my expectations, which was super low. I mean, I think I gotta agree with Lucas with the grading. This was an F. I think like a lot of people crap on some of the stuff that like DC produces in terms of like, you know, just a lot of these movies, but I would see Black Adam before I see this again. Like I would see so many other movies before I see it. Like there was nothing. Let me think this through real quick. There was nothing that would make me recommend this movie. Like and that's and it's sad because it's a short movie and you got good actors and this is what you get out of it. And it starts, it almost makes me wonder if this is a Kevin issue and not a us issue. Because I mean you can only throw so many strikes, and before you get mad at the pitcher, maybe it's the signal caller, like whoever's telling him to throw that. But yeah, this is just getting, it's very depressing because I know for a lot of us, like, when you get like this first saga that came out, like we were invested in this story, and it was like after Endgame, it's almost like they literally had no idea what to do. And now I feel like they're just throwing like all the spaghetti in the wall and they're like, let's see what sticks. And as soon as like something slightly sticks, they're like, okay, let's just shove that down their throats. And you're just like, whoa, 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 like calm down. This is just the first date. You don't got to give me everything in movie one. But no, I don't think there's anything enjoyable about this movie. Like not even the soundtrack. Like there really wasn't anything like striking in this movie, which is like sucks at the end of the day. Like I'm intrigued to see I'm intrigued to see how Disney will handle this movie like a year from now, or if this will just be another Eternals where no one really talks about it, and we just make fun of it, basically. But we'll see. But yeah,
Alien Earth again.
yeah, I'll give it a fatty F for failure.
All right, final conclusions for me. In a year where we had, Spider-Verse, Blue Beetle, Ninja Turtles were amazing superhero films. We also got Shazam 2. I'm sorry, 3, 2, yeah, 2. We got Ant-Man and the Wasp, Quantum Mania. Those movies for me were lower than this one. For me personally, I'm rating this a C or C minus. I would go and watch this again. I actually was really entertained by this film, partly because my bias, because I actually did like Miss Marvel. I did like some of the choreography between some of this. I do agree that this would have probably better service on Disney Plus as like a special. And maybe even the fact that it's a lot shorter than those two movies that I felt were a lot weaker. I think it actually did benefit this. But to be honest, it's still Marvel still needs to step up. They still don't have a really good concrete storyline. The villain is actually really weak. But for me, I can't get this a failure because those other two movies, Shazam and Ant-Man, I would never go and watch either one of those again. And I feel like those were far lower than this film because I would actually go and watch this again. So I rate this one at a C or a C minus for me. I could go into other stuff. I can't believe they had like a musical number in this one. I'll go that a different day. But yeah, that's where I'm at with it. C is C minus for me. So yeah, not completely rotten for me. But yeah. So hope you guys enjoyed our review of the Marvels. Let us know what you think about it once you go and check it out. We interested. Make sure you go into the comment section. Let us know. Make sure you like, subscribe, hit that bell button. Mike, where can we find more of your content, sir?
Yeah, you can find me on YouTube at JediMike7, and also Instagram at JediMike7 as well. You also can find me here on TeamJVS as well. Yeah, thank you for having me, and I'll see you guys next time.
Yeah, for sure. Thanks, Mike. Jorge, you got some other content, other places as well. Where can we find your other content?
Yeah, for now it's just on the Team JVS side, but probably starting next, at the start of the year, there'll be a lot of bilingual content getting dropped on my old channel, but we'll see about that. But for now, you can find me here on Team JVS, and yeah, we'll be chilling here for a while.
Yeah. Thanks, Jorge. And then you can find some of Lucas' content on Big Go Belt, Power S. So there's a lot more content there.
You see how I don't get to talk? He kept me because he knew I would talk more shit about this movie, but I'm just gonna leave it alone. I'm gonna be calm. I'm docile a little bit and not talk shit because I got so much more to say, but I'm just containing myself. I have questions with Sam. He keeps on comparing this to other movies when you don't have to compare it to other movie to say it's a bad movie, but that's fine. That's fine. I'm just gonna relax here. Just gonna relax as much as possible.
That's the thing. That's the thing. I think
I know. But you admitted your bias, so I'm perfectly fine with it. You said it. You like Miss Marvel, so your bias is duly noted. You are one of 6 people who watched that show, so I understand your bias. But only 6 of you watched it. Huh? Yes, and you and Mike are one third of Miss Marvel's audience because no one else watched it
too.
I love you, Iman. I love you, Iman.
Both of them enjoyed the show too.
Yeah, I enjoyed the show. It just didn't translate well to this movie.
Right. Exactly.
So y'all are half of the audience for Miss Marvel. That's great. That's great. That's great. That's why it doesn't have a season 2. I know it was a reason. Like y'all almost half of the audience there.
Anyway,
even with the little X-Men stinger they threw you at the end of Miss Marvel, that still wasn't enough to keep you intrigued of it. That's the problem. Problem. But it's cool. It's cool.
Okay.
It's cool because that has no effect on this movie here. And I just feel bad for Ms. DaCosta because, as Mike said, you don't get black women directors in Marvel much. The last one they tried to get rejected them. And now you get her here. And then she had to talk about her movie making process that didn't sound like it was the most enjoyable experience for her. Yeah. So we just hope it gets better. Hope it gets better for and they learn how to write women superheroes for these young girls out here who do need these characters to look up to. That's important.
Yeah. And just to remind you guys, I mean, just like every other Marvel movie, there's actually one end credit scene. So definitely go and stay after the credits. We'll talk about it maybe in another video. Me and Michael partner together and talk about
Well,
some of the craziness
I
with
about to say they already know about it, Sam. There's nothing to talk about.
They are right.
Unfortunately, yeah, because you all didn't watch it. I know for his people out there who
Yeah,
saw
the
that
trailers reveal
unfortunately,
everything.
that trailer did what it did, and I know people are complaining about it online right now. So it is what it is. So it is what it is. They literally gave you Valkyrie in the trailer, so it's not even a surprise that she's in the movie because they gave it to you in the trailer. Like it's Marvel. They need y'all to go see this movie. So go out and support, because in the end, these are still superhero projects for you all. Go out, support Miss Captain Marvel's Agatha Witch, whatever the hell this movie is supposed to be. Just go support it.
I think Miss Agatha is coming out. Agatha the Witch is in the show.
See what I mean? See what I mean? No one's asking for that show, and yet they're gonna force it down your throat. This is
we're gone.
We're done, people. God damn it.